Hello and welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. He didn't waste any time, it would seem. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu got right to eating the biggest frog in his inaugural speech. Initially, handlers had argued that the president didn't mean the immediate removal of subsidy on petrol in his speech. But the president has left no one in doubt as to what he really meant when he declared subsidy is gone in that now much quoted speech. The NNPC had tried to curb panic buying by releasing a statement of its own welcoming subsidy removal, but reminding marketers that there was a provision for it until the end of the month of June. However, noticing that an artificial scarcity was building on the back of uncertainty, after a number of meetings with the president, the NNPC has since released a new template, which it says is in tandem with market realities and will continue to fluctuate in tandem with market dynamics. As expected, Labour hasn't taken this lying low. There had been mild threats in the closing out days of the Buhari administration, which had left the big decision to the new government. One of the major umbrella unions, the Trade Union Congress, says the president cannot unilaterally remove subsidies on petrol, which they argue touches on the very survival of working people. They have instead called for dialogue. The Nigeria Labour Congress, on its part, considers the new pricing template by the NNPC vexatious and an ambush, and says if it isn't withdrawn, it could become a cog in the wheel of dialogue. For a very long time, the labor unions have spoken on behalf of the Nigerian masses who make up their numbers. But considering that discussions over the removal of petrol subsidies have been going on for the better part of 2 decades, what should both parties be doing to produce the best outcomes for Nigerians who are both dreadful of its impact on their cost of living and sick of the corruption that has plagued the system? Issa Aremu, the Director General of the Michael Imodu National Institute for Labour Studies and a former Vice President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, is our guest tonight. Welcome, comrade, to Hard Copy.
It's a pleasure, Mope.
I don't know whether to still call you comrade, because when you become a Director General, do you still wear the hat of comrade?
Well, once a comrade, always a comrade. Always. You can call me Comrade Director.
Comrade Director. All right, then. Let me ask you about the president's speech. Mixed reactions since Monday when we heard that speech. Some have called it reckless. They thought the president ought to have had the conversation first, take stock of the state of things. Others say, he was trying to send a clear signal to the markets as to where he stood precisely with fuel subsidy. Where would you say you stand on this?
Well, I'm not sure whether you can talk of where I stand, because all of us were part of this democratic process. First, the context. I think for me, it's quite remarkable that we have the 7th inauguration of democratically elected president. And I think we need to look at this bigger picture that we are gotten effectively 24 years of uninterrupted democratic process. We need to really celebrate this. It is important because you know where we came from, almost 40 years of military dictatorship. I think Nigeria has made the point to change the narrative of the continent. Until recently, the continent's story has been dominated by the factional fight in Sudan, by armed gangs, And, it's also the absence of democracy that's led to the near total collapse of Sudan. And of course, you also know Mali, where at a point coup became very frequent, almost about 4 coups within a decade. So I think it's remarkable that Nigeria is keeping the story of Africa alive in terms of democratic process. I also went through the speech. In any case, I was at the Ogu Square to witness it, and I think it was good to be witness to inauguration. And I witnessed that, and I think depends on what you look at. I saw statesmanship in the delivery of President Bola Tinubu. He also gave the signal that he wouldn't sit on the fence when it comes to policy pronouncement. We can debate the details of what he said, the way he put it, but you can't doubt that we have clarity of policy pronouncement, on fuel subsidy, on the harmonization of the exchange rate, on the desire of the president to have investment-friendly interest rate.
When we look at where we were in the military days and where we currently are in a democratic dispensation, it would seem that there was a promise of life abundant. For a number of people, that promise hasn't quite been realized. So would you put it down to how we have practiced our own democracy, or to, the nature of democracy itself?
I think, put it this way, quantitatively, I can say the democratic process has been deepened in Nigeria. When I mean quantitatively, we've elected president. We even had a president, sitting president that unfortunately died in office. I'm talking of the late president, Yar'Adua. May so rest in peace. We also had one that lost election and, gracefully accepted the outcome. We are two-time elected president. Now we have a transition from one party to the other. When you look at the numbers, quantitatively, we are not doing fine. I mean, if you also had governors that have been elected, but back to your pointed question, maybe it's not time to have quality control of this democratic process, because democracy is just the means, the end is good governance. But it also depends on what you are looking at. Maybe we need the numbers. This is why we have to rely on National Bureau of Statistics, what has been the industrial output, what has been the level of employment that have been generated. We talk of open unemployment, underemployment. Again, is the Bureau that will give us the statistics.
The National Bureau of Statistics, they've been quite kind. Last year, they released a figure that was quite alarming. Over 100 people, 100 million people living in multidimensional poverty.
Absolutely.
A figure that alarmed many people. And they listed all that they used to reach that particular conclusion. So it does appear that the work of our democracy is cut out for it. In terms of impacting the lives of people.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt over that. There's a consensus that we've recorded growth without development. What I mean here is especially inclusive growth, in which people are carried along. And if you take the benchmark that we normally use, demand for minimum wage, since the democratic dispensation, we've gotten 3 progressive review of the minimum wage. We can discuss about how other microeconomic policy has impacted on this, but in 1999, under President Obasanjo, when Labour engaged with the government in power, we raised minimum wage from miserable of about 125 naira, which has been there for a long time, or 250 in 1995. We raised it to 7,500. Today, it's been jacked to 30,000. In nominal terms, that has been an improvement. But in real terms, when you take the valuation of currency, the rate of inflation, we can say for the organized labor, you can't talk of improvement in wages in real terms. In fact, you can talk of wage poverty, as the case may be. But we still have a framework, for negotiation, for dialogue, for improvement. Of course, for the mass of informal sector workers, this is where we need to have appropriate policies, to really create jobs. So, and one way out of this is we have to revive industries.
Let me also take you back again a little, because you also talked in the vein of celebrating 24 years of unbroken democratic rule. Some people also say, what about the quality of the democracy? We can still see that, we still have contenders in our elections going to court, which is their right. But what people are looking forward to seeing is a situation whereby the manner in which we conduct our elections are so transparently clear that the winner is not in dispute, however unpopular the vote he might secure might be. So for you, when you look at how, I mean, especially when you look at how these elections were conducted, what was promised versus what was delivered, would you really say that we really have cause to celebrate our democracy?
I think that's a settled issue. We have cause to celebrate. That's why I said quantitatively, we've really made some progress. We started with 3 political parties. Now we have 18.
A settled issue, you say?
18, yeah.
Even with contenders in court?
18, yeah, it's okay. That's also part of the democratic process. I mean, there's nowhere any election outcomes will not be contested. It depends on the way we do so. And that's why I give the example of 2015, where graciously an incumbent president accepted. You need to weigh that. There are also a lot of elections at the state level that have not been contested, and even the numbers for this election, the winner, President Bola Tinubu, got 8.7 million. PDP, Atiku got 7 point something, and of course, the Labour Party 6.5 million.
6.1.
Yeah, 6.1. That was contestation. That was close. That's a demonstration that we had a contest in the true sense of the word. And that's why when you look at these numbers, the president-elect have to keep on relooking at these numbers, because what it means is that the desire of the electorate is that we need a kind of bipartisan kind of approach to governance. Because when you talk of recontestation, this election was, it's a case of contest in the true sense of the word. So I think the winner has to aggregate the concerns of all these, the 2 major contenders and the people who voted for them. What are their concerns? And that now means that we really need, I don't know how to put it, but I think we need an alliance for good governance.
So would you say that the speech sent that signal, the inaugural speech?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get a sense of that?
I got that sense of statesmanship in President Bola Tinubu. He said, I salute my supporters, those who voted for me and those who did not vote for me. I say salute them. And I'm president for all. I'll be available to deliver governance for everybody. And I think one good turn deserves another. I also expect those who have not really won, I don't want to say those who lost, to also key into this agenda. And that comes to the contentious issue that we have at hand now, which is the one that's captured imagination on the issue of removal of fuel subsidy. You also know that the leading political contenders had a consensus that this humongous amount of money we are spending on subsidy for PMS is unsustainable, for obvious reasons. Public revenue is going down. Secondly, the cost has been so enormous. Even here as I'm discussing this with you more, I'm quite fatigued when it comes to discussing petroleum issues, because we've been in this business for decades. But even the time we were doing so under President Obasanjo, it was about 150 million, 200 million. And I know President Obasanjo used to virtually harass Comrade Adams Shomole, who was the president of NZ. He said, no, Adams, with that amount of money, you know what I can do with it to fix teaching hospitals. But now more we are talking of 400 billion naira to allegedly subsidize a product, PMS, per month. President Bola Tinubu have to, as good as he was clear, loud on broad policy issues, he must also build consensus among, I don't want to call it elite consensus. We need national consensus. And that also requires...
The question is, has he put the cart before the horse? Because some people are saying, oh, he ought to have done that first before removing subsidy or before including it so emphatically in his speech. Is it too late to do that now, especially with the dialogue that they're having with Labour? We'll be posing that question when we come back from this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. Comrade Issa Aremu, the Director General of the Michael Imodo National Institute for Labour Studies and a former Vice President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, is our guest tonight, and we're discussing the way forward on the removal of fuel subsidies. So you were talking about that elite consensus, and you think that, you know, he should be building an elite consensus even with those who, you know, campaigned alongside him, because I don't alongside or against, as the case might be, those from, you know, other political parties. The question right now is, should he have done that before, you know, removing it so emphatically in his speech or saying it in his speech, or is it too late now in the day?
Well, maybe I don't even want to put it to say a late consensus. I need all the stakeholders consensus, you know, because this democracy, we have to make it more inclusive. But maybe the way we can put it is that we need to get the buy-in of all the political actors. Because at the end of the day, this is about authoritative allocation of resources. It's about power. But there must be engagement with all sectors of the economy and organized labor, even the unorganized labor. I mean, the beauty of Nigeria is that we're associational people. I mean, a lot of associations, the stakeholders, the organizations within the sector. I mean, IPMAN, I saw a good job that you did. You've been engaging them now to let's know the way they think. But no easy answer, Mope. There are those who really believe that the president has taken a shock therapy approach, you know, big bang, you know, and people have reservation about that. But again, it depends on how you look at it. Everybody knows that the
you
next
oversee a labor institute.
Yes.
What would you say would have been most ideal?
No, that's what I'm saying. No easy answer, even if in the world of work. You know, I mean, there are those who passionately believe that the president should hit the ground running. You know, you need to take tough decisions. You know, you need to give good policy directions. So, for those who share that view, president has been audacious enough to come out boldly. I mean, you can't really doubt where it's going on critical issues, even in terms of nation building. I mean, I had him, that's very quotable quote, that as long as this planet exists, Nigeria must exist. So you are clear that it's not for divisible Nigeria.
Yeah, but as a seasoned labor leader, yes, one who's been in the trenches over this particular matter,
yes,
what would you say he ought to have done?
Yeah, but there are those who also believe that, you know, possibly his speech was, you know, was clear enough that the Buhari administration, of which he was part of it, had already set the tone. No provision in this budget for subsidy. I mean, we can see the impact of pronouncement because the forces that possibly benefit from this for subsidy, they've gone to town, they've started hoarding. You know, I mean, you know what we're going through, the queues, even though the previous stock was at a different rate. But what I'm also happy about is that NNPC has come on stream now. I mean, to be more active, you know, to be able to make sure we are the enough stocks. You know, they've also run some sort of templates, you know, of the numbers. What should be the pricing? You know, again, a lot of debate. But the one I'm also excited about is that organized labor has also tried to convey the implication of this,
yeah,
you
so
know, for the workforce, for the masses.
They are not excited about this at all.
No, I'm saying I'm excited that they are on duty to convey, convey their feelings. But
they're conveying their feelings,
yes,
and it is to be expected.
Absolutely.
Well, I think for a number of people, they're also, you know, a little afraid that Labour. I mean, we're reading the statement of NLC, for instance, on the pricing template, which has been released by the NNPC, which is putting fuel at an average of over 500 naira per litre, depending on what parts of the country you're in. You know, they are saying that that is vexatious and that it's an ambush. And they're also saying it could stand in the way of dialogue. They want the federal government to withdraw that pricing template before any meaningful discussions can be held. From where you sit, do you think that is a helpful approach?
Well, again, it will be academic to really pass the other side full because NSC, organized labor, has taken some position on that. But if you, as you pointedly asked me, I mean, I have a lot of reservation about policy dictatorship. I mean, I believe that need for consultation, but I'm also averse to response dictatorship. You get what I'm saying? I mean, we don't do tit for tat. We don't do eye for an eye. Otherwise, all of us will go blind. I think my takeaway is that discussion has started. I think we should deepen that discussion, social dialogue, and even without having cabinet in place, President Bola Tinubu has shown his background that is at home with Labour. He called for meeting with the Labour leaders at the Villa. I mean, that's quite remarkable because we've come a long way in this struggle. I know what it takes to get President Obasanjo to call for meeting. It's either you take it or nothing. Of course, when you talk of under the military, it was even worse. These are taking decades. They roll out time. So we should take advantage, of the framework for discussion and social dialogue to resolve and look out the numbers very well. Better late than never at all. Mokwe, if you ask me, this contestation, I'm quite excited because it's policy contestation. It's not that our normal fault line of ethnicity, religion. These are policy issues. And when I hear the soundbite now, fixing refineries, think about the poor, implication for inflation, these are healthy issues in a democratic process. And I hope there will be more of this policy contestation because development has not been discussed in Nigeria for a long time. It's more about who's coming from where, will be a leader, what will he do. So it's very healthy. But my advice, coming from the Labour Institute is that we have the tools for social dialogue and have very strong faith in the capacity of both the TUC and NSC to engage with government on these issues. And I also listen to them. The frustration is that we've not been consulted earlier on, but better late than never. Now that we have consultation, all we need to do put all the issues on the table. And labor issues are so enormous. For instance, I mean, you increase the price. I've also know what it takes for workers now to go to work. Some couldn't even go because of the almost 100%, if not more, increase in price of fare. Now, what organized labor has the tools for is to ask for improvement in the pay. I mean, it's better for us to take these trillions of naira to improve on income, wages of the work people, which we can negotiate for, transportation allowance, and again, the president in his inaugural speech also says so. He's opened the door. He's talking about he's going to allocate more money for health, for education. Let's quickly take advantage of that. In fact, there was this template before that has been on, which Labour has been engaging upon. So I will call on the organized labor civil society to reopen that network so that we avoid additional stoppages, disruptions, which already been done by what some people call shock therapy approach to the policy.
In other words, you will not support a strike action.
No, I mean, there is already unofficial strike caused by scarcity of products. So one strike will be too addictive. I think at the end of the day, I don't think organized labor is excited about the strike. What they're excited about, the outcomes. What will it deliver? And I think if we can get it through negotiation, through discussions, we have all the templates. I mean, Labour has done remarkably well. It's only now the government must leverage on that. I think there's a lot that we can engage on, rather than, nobody doubts the power of Labour to do what we used to do. Nobody also doubt the capacity of the government now to say this is what I want to do, but it's not about show of power. I think what we need to do is show of commitment that we have a transition out of this policy reform, mitigate the impact, and the solution is through social dialogue.
Comrade Issa Aremu, thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
It's a pleasure. I thought we were just starting. I wanted to also comment on one or two things. But let me also wrap up on this note that two major events took place within a week in Nigeria that have changed the narrative of Nigeria, and they're all linked to the fuel subsidy. The inauguration or the commissioning of the largest refinery, in Africa, 650,000 barrels by Aliko Dangote refinery. I mean, that already also addressed the issue of possible supply crisis. And the other one is what I've already amplified. the 7th inauguration of the new president for Nigeria. 24 years of uninterrupted democratic process. We shouldn't take this for granted. We can only deepen it further.
Comrade Issa Remo, thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
Keep on doing a good job.
That's the program tonight. Your feedback is welcome to the handle showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.